Honestly, wherever you are, whenever you hear this, babes, we hope you have the absolute best week today and always. Cheers to you, babes. You deserve it, and the universe better have something amazing in store for you.
It is Monday morning, and Snark Squad, we made it through the weekend.
Barely, honestly, but we are here.
We are physically here.
Yeah, mentally is a different story. I'm currently staring at an iced vanilla latte that is, like, sweating profusely on my desk right now.
The condensation is so aggressive today.
It really is. But honestly, sometimes caffeine is the absolute only personality trait we have on a Monday. And this, it is hitting.
It is deeply necessary. My phone has been buzzing with literal court document updates since like 6 in the morning, so we need the fuel.
We absolutely do, because the pop culture universe decided to just completely skip a day of rest this weekend.
Like, completely.
But I have to say, physically, I am sitting at this microphone, but mentally, I'm still wandering the cobblestone streets of Salem, Massachusetts.
Oh, take me back.
Right. If you followed our weekend on social media, you guys know we did a massive reset trip to Salem. And it was just, getting out of the digital panopticon does something to your brain chemistry.
It forces perspective. Like, when you are standing in a town defined by literal historical witch trials, it makes the metaphorical Twitter witch trials we talk about feel, incredibly small.
So small. It was just the most necessary soul-cleansing energy shift.
Yep.
Burning actual sage, breathing the crisp air.
Looking at the ocean.
Yeah, looking at the ocean and realizing we are just like tiny little specks in the universe. We spend way too much of our cognitive load stressing over absolute nonsense.
We really do.
Which actually brings me to a very serious mandate. We need everyone to do one thing for self-care this week. Do it for the squad, babes. Unplug, light a candle, just breathe.
Okay, I conceptually agree with the self-care mandate, but we definitely have very different methodologies.
What do you mean?
Well, your version of self-care is standing on a picturesque cliffside, contemplating human existence. My idea of self-care is just like a tactical retreat.
A tactical retreat?
Yeah, it's putting my phone on Do Not Disturb, ignoring text messages for a solid 48 hours, and just establishing a hard boundary.
Okay, boundaries are a highly valid form of self-care. But speaking of pushing boundaries, we have to talk about your mourning.
Oh my gosh, do we have to?
Yes. Babes, the squad needs to know. You did something a little unhinged this morning. And I need the listeners to weigh in on the psychology of this decision.
I am fully prepared to defend my thesis here.
The thesis is madness. I woke up, looked at my phone, and received a voice note of you legitimately gasping for air.
I was recovering.
Because you decided, instead of utilizing the perfectly functional air-conditioned gym that you literally pay a monthly premium for, to walk 40 flights of stairs in your apartment building.
For the workout.
Up and down, voluntarily, not once, but multiple times.
Okay, let's unpack the logic here, right? It was a moment of unfiltered inspiration. It's giving marathon baddie.
Is it, though?
Yes. It's giving. We don't need a gym membership because the built environment is our gym.
The built environment is an enclosed, windowless, concrete stairwell. There is zero ventilation in there. It is an echo chamber of suffering.
It is about the psychology of a self-imposed struggle. By Flight 15, the physical toll was so real. I was dripping buckets of sweat.
Ew.
My quads were like entering a state of lactic acidosis, and the immediate regret just washed over me. I was on the landing of the 22nd floor, questioning the structural integrity of my own life choices.
Exactly. Why do that to yourself?
But the mechanism is the overcoming of that regret. When I finished. The ultimate pride. I manufactured a physical crisis, and I survived it.
You manufactured a cardiovascular event in a dusty stairwell. Meanwhile, my morning manufactured a completely different kind of crisis.
Oh no, what happened?
A crisis deeply rooted in generational digital literacy. The family group chat saga continues.
Oh, the family group chat. Please tell me what happened.
I woke up to a literal flood. A flood of texts from the family group chat. I am talking 47 notifications before the sun was even fully up.
47.
Yes. And they were not words. They were entirely GIFs.
The highest form of communication, obviously.
Babes, the GIFs need to stop. Why is everything a minion or a thumbs-up animation? We really need to analyze the chaos of older generation texting habits.
It is fascinating.
Like, what is the psychological drive to communicate complex morning greetings through pixelated, low-resolution moving images of yellow creatures in overalls?
You are looking at it as an inefficiency, but you have to view it through their cultural lens. For them, it's a love language.
A minion is a love language.
It is digital effort. When your mom scrolls through a database to find the perfect chaotic GIF of a bear waving, She is saying she's thinking of you.
It is just so chaotic.
My strategy. I love sending chaotic GIFs back just to short-circuit the system.
Wait, you encourage them?
Oh, absolutely. Send a GIF of a reality star flipping a table in response to a minion. Give them a puzzle to solve.
See, it is not a puzzle. It is visceral overwhelm. The human brain is not designed to process 47 animated bears waving before 7 in the morning.
I mean, that is fair.
It's an assault on the nervous system. Family group chats need parliamentary procedure. We need bylaws. Rule 1, no animations before business hours. Rule 2, use actual syntax.
You want to govern the group chat like a zoning board. But, your desire for predictable order is exactly why we thrive at our actual day jobs.
That is so true.
Because, just a reminder to the squad, as much as we dissect the mechanics of pop culture here, we both have real jobs today at our separate dental offices.
We do. And we have to let the listeners in on a dark, predictable truth about the dental field. A secret of the industry, honestly.
Feel it.
Low-key, Mondays are actually some of the best days.
It sounds completely counterintuitive because culturally, Monday is the enemy, right?
Yeah.
But in a dental office, it is predictable behavioral science.
Exactly. The science of the Monday cancellation.
Yes.
There is always a cancellation on a Monday. You can physically feel it coming when you look at the schedule in the morning.
Human behavior dictates that weekend chaos inevitably bleeds into Monday morning. People forget to set alarms or, they make questionable decisions on Saturday night.
Oh, the Sunday scaries turn into Monday avoidance.
Exactly. They bail. And that cancellation creates a glorious 30-minute pocket of breathing room to sip this aggressively sweating vanilla latte.
It's the behavioral hangover of the weekend. And it's not just the patients either. It's the staff.
Oh, the staff stories are the best.
I remember a specific Monday where a coworker rolled in completely unhinged, sunglasses indoors, clutching coffee like a life support system.
We all know that look.
And she proceeded to explain how she accidentally ended up on a boat in a completely different state on Sunday afternoon and barely made her flight back.
Accidental boat trips.
Right. The energy on a Monday is always slightly off, completely chaotic, but highly, highly entertaining.
Well, the weekend energy always spills over. And that is the perfect analytical framework for what we are doing today.
Ooh, pivot.
Because that chaotic weekend energy doesn't just spill into dental offices. It spills into the tabloids. The last 24 hours in celebrity and Bravo land have been an absolute dumpster fire.
Snark Squad, grab your lattes because we are clocking in for the drama. We are walking through everything buzzing right now, and we have thoughts.
Let's start with Section 1, the darkest timeline. We're looking at custody battles, the pursuit of clout, and just the darkest manifestations of reality TV fame.
And we are starting with someone who consistently tests the limits of human patience. The internet has a unified rallying cry right now, and it is essentially F. Janelle Evans.
Seriously, F. Janelle Evans.
And when we unpack the actual court documents and PR strategies from this weekend, it becomes glaringly obvious why the public has reached absolute zero tolerance for her.
The mechanics of her PR strategy are actually fascinating in their pure audacity. Let's look at the data points here.
Set the scene.
Janelle took to social media to post these highly curated, perfectly filtered pictures of herself kayaking and doing outdoor activities with her 16-year-old son, Jace.
Okay, seems normal on the surface.
Right, but this took place during a parents' weekend at the residential facility where he is currently receiving care.
And the caption is where the psychological manipulation really jumps out. She calls a teenager. She has historically failed in profoundly documented ways. Her best friend.
Best friend?
She claims they are both working on themselves. It is classic therapy speak, weaponized for Instagram engagement. You do not use a child's mandatory therapeutic weekend as a photo shoot to launder your own public image.
It is reputation laundering, exactly. But the narrative completely collapsed because Andrew Lewis, Jace's biological father, spoke out.
Oh, he provided all the context she intentionally left out.
He did. Andrew revealed that he and Barb, Jace's grandmother, who was his primary caregiver for most of his life, have been legally barred by Janelle from seeing, speaking to, or even knowing Jace's location for over a month.
Which is just a horrifying exercise of control.
Wow.
She isolates this child from his stable familial anchors, curates a kayak photo shoot, and then sells the narrative of the healing mother.
It's so dark.
As Andrew explicitly stated, she is using a teenager's medical and psychological healing process for pure attention and clout.
And let's dive into the financial narrative. because this is where the PR smokescreen really gets exposed. In family court, proving financial fitness is crucial, right?
So crucial.
So Janelle recently bragged to TMZ that she is the one independently paying for Jace's facility care. She claimed the money was coming from funds that her husband, David, also graciously offered to hold for her.
I have to pause here. The concept of David, a man who is notoriously unemployed, unemployable, and embroiled in his own legal nightmares regarding his treatment of this very child, graciously holding her money.
Like he's a fiduciary trust officer.
It is laughably absurd. How does that mechanism even work?
It doesn't. It's a fabricated narrative designed to make Janelle look like a responsible benefactor and David look like a supportive partner. Andrew completely dismantled this.
What did he say?
He went on the record stating that the new facility is actually billing his insurance, not Janelle's. Furthermore, the medical bills from the first facility Jace was in have already exceeded $102,000. And Andrew confirmed Janelle is absolutely not paying that debt.
$102,000. That is catastrophic medical debt. And while that debt sits there, she is feeding TMZ lines about her wallet.
It is a classic deflection tactic.
You loudly claim financial responsibility in the press so that when the court dates arrive, public opinion is already on your side.
But the deflection goes deeper than finances. It goes into generational trauma. Janelle posted a defense blaming her own upbringing.
Of course she did.
She said, quote, "Putting so much effort into my family makes me realize how much effort was not put into my family growing up. I was given up on a long time ago, but I am breaking the cycle."
Using breaking the cycle as a shield while actively repeating the cycle is a masterclass in cognitive dissonance.
Totally.
You cannot claim to be breaking the cycle while isolating a child, dodging six-figure medical bills, and leveraging his trauma for social media likes. The absolute disconnect from reality is staggering.
It is the darkest manifestation of reality TV fame, where every real-world tragedy is just raw material for a PR spin. And unfortunately, Janelle isn't the only one utilizing the legal system as an extension of toxic dynamics.
We have to pivot to the absolute chaos unfolding with the cast of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Specifically, Taylor Frankie Paul and Dakota Mortensen. The legal architecture of their relationship is completely collapsing. Lay out what just happened in court.
So they were in court over custody of their son, and the judge did not just issue a standard ruling. The judge granted 3-year protective orders for both of them.
A 3-year protective order is not handed out lightly. The standard of evidence required to prove that two people are a mutual, persistent danger to one another for a duration of 36 months is incredibly high.
Exactly. The judge explicitly stated on the record that their relationship is beyond the pale, and noted they literally cannot be in the same location without the situation devolving into violence.
So the law has physically and legally severed them.
The tragedy here is the 2-year-old child caught in the center of this machinery. But the logistics of how they are navigating this legal severance are a total mess.
We are seeing a new phenomenon here. Influencer journalism.
Yes.
An influencer known as Lawyer T, Steph with the deets, is reporting on the intricacies of their parent time. Dakota was granted temporary sole custody earlier, and now he is allegedly getting 6 to 8 hours a week of supervised parent time.
Supervised time is a massive legal restriction.
Yes. But Lawyer T also claims that Taylor missed some of her own supervised parent time.
Wait, really?
Yeah, however, the caveat provided was that Taylor had a legitimate, understandable reason for keeping out of court and missing that time, implying a strategic legal retreat for the broader safety of the situation.
But didn't the protective order immediately get tested?
Within 24 hours. Less than a day after a judge mandates a protective order, Dakota allegedly violated it.
How does one violate a strict court order before the ink is even dry?
Through the mechanism of indirect contact. In a protective order, you cannot use a third party to communicate or harass the protected individual. Dakota allegedly had his roommate, a man named True Eaton, indirectly communicate and harass Taylor.
Which is a profound lack of impulse control. Introducing secondary characters like a roommate into a volatile legal violation is so reckless, and this secondary character crew is now feuding with other cast members.
Right. Jesse Draper from the show got dragged in. An audio message leaked via TMZ where Jesse is throwing shade at Taylor. Jesse originally issued a public denial, claiming she never sent voice memos.
Which is always a fatal PR mistake in the digital age. The receipts always exist.
They do. TMZ proved it. And then Creed Eaton, Dakota's roommate, decides to publicly attack Jesse over the lie. He posted, "Botox must be blocking the brain cells on this one. Stay tuned tomorrow morning to watch her eat her words."
I'm sorry, but weaponizing Botox in a proxy war over a leaked audio memo related to a protective order violation is the most dystopian reality TV sentence ever spoken.
It really is.
The absolute lack of situational awareness. If a judge looks at you and your partner and declares your dynamic beyond the pale, your only PR strategy should be total digital blackout. You log off. You do not deploy your roommate to tweet about brain cells.
It's a total failure of crisis management. And it raises a massive structural question for the show itself. How does Dakota return for season 5?
He practically voided his own contract. It's Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, not Secret Lives of Mormon Husbands.
Exactly.
He was a secondary character, an accessory to Taylor's primary storyline. Now that they are legally barred from being in the same room for 3 years, he offers zero narrative utility to the production company.
Analytically, his shelf life has expired. You cannot film an ensemble reality show when your presence constitutes a misdemeanor violation of a court order.
Good. Remove the volatile element, protect the child, and let the legal system handle the rest.
Let's transition from the heavy, punitive reality of family court to a completely different sector of the legal system. Section 2. Legal defenses, deflections, and Beverly Hills yard sales.
Oh, this is where the legal mechanics become almost satirical. I am obsessed with this lawsuit. Break down the Kathy Hilton yard sale disaster.
Okay, so in August 2024, Kathy Hilton decided to host a massive charity yard sale at her 15,000 square foot estate in Bel Air.
Naturally.
And the mechanism of this event is crucial. People actually bought entrance tickets. There is still digital evidence, like TikToks, showing influencers treating the property like a museum exhibit.
The concept of buying a ticket to rummage through a billionaire's cast-offs is a fascinating psychological study in itself. You are literally paying a premium to access the aura of wealth.
But the aura of wealth came with physical hazards. A guest named Kimberly Heffington was walking on the property, specifically on an outside staircase transitioning from the tennis court to the pool area.
The rich people stairs.
Right. During this transit, Kimberly's foot allegedly caught between uneven pavers. She fell and suffered a complex medial meniscus tear to her right knee.
A meniscus tear requires surgical intervention, physical therapy. It is a legitimate, painful injury.
Absolutely. So Kimberly filed a lawsuit in 2025, and she is looking for total restitution, past, present, and future medical bills, which she calculates at $55,000 a year.
$55,000 a year in perpetuity for a knee injury. That is an aggressive calculation, but Kathy Hilton is practically a sovereign nation of wealth. How did her legal team respond?
They did not settle. They filed an affirmative defense citing known danger.
Okay, let's unpack known danger for the Snark squad, because this is a fascinating piece of tort law.
In tort law, there is a concept called assumption of risk. If you go to a baseball game, you assume the inherent risk of a foul ball flying into the stands. Yeah. If you go skiing, you assume the risk of falling.
Right, it's baked into the activity.
Exactly. Kathy Hilton's legal team is essentially arguing that walking into a charity yard sale at a Bel Air mansion carries the inherent known danger of uneven landscaping.
Which completely twists the concept of premises liability. A homeowner, especially one hosting a ticketed event, owes a duty of care to their guests.
Oh, absolutely.
By selling tickets, Kimberly became a business invitee, which carries the highest standard of care in tort law. Kathy has a legal duty to inspect the premises and fix hazards. You cannot argue that an uneven paver next to a tennis court is a known danger, like a foul ball.
The audacity of the defense is what makes it brilliant, billionaire legal strategy. They are arguing comparative negligence. That Kimberly failed to exercise reasonable care for her own safety by not looking at her feet.
Analytically speaking, walking into any Real Housewives home should probably come with a liability waiver. Between the flying wine glasses, the loose Birkin bags, and the sheer delusion, it is a hazardous environment.
A literal war zone.
But structurally, it is wild that Kathy Hilton will likely spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on elite defense attorneys just to avoid paying a $50,000 medical claim.
It's not about the capital. It's about the precedent. If she pays Kimberly, she admits liability, and suddenly every influencer who ever stubbed their toe at a Hilton event comes looking for a settlement.
It is the ultimate flex of wealth. Like, I will bury you in legal fees before I fix my pavers. But Kathy Hilton isn't the only one in Beverly Hills navigating massive liabilities right now.
No, she is not. Which brings us to Section 3, the ruins of Beverly Hills. The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills reunion just aired, and the fallout is systematically destroying the remaining architecture of the cast's friendships.
Let's start with the total disintegration of Teddi Mellencamp and Dorrit Kemsley. The mechanics of this feud are deeply dark.
It started when Dorrit's estranged husband, PK, gave an interview where he explicitly suggested that being on the show contributed to the demise of their marriage.
And he didn't stop there.
No, he alleged that certain storylines were entirely fabricated.
Which is a massive breach of the Bravo fourth wall. You do not go to the press and admit the reality is produced.
Exactly. It gave Teddi Mellencamp and Tamra Judge the opening they needed on their podcast. Teddi systematically dismantled Dorrit's reality TV history.
She came with a list.
She questioned the tiers. Dorrit cried when her home was burglarized. She called BS on the Buca di Beppo lemon room redesign, the non-alcoholic champagne storyline, the Beverly Beach business.
She audited Dorrit's entire existence. But then she escalated from structural criticism to personal attacks. When PK noted he no longer recognized Dorrit, Teddi publicly hypothesized that it was due to Dorrit's extensive plastic surgery,
which triggered one of the most bizarre PR anomalies in reality TV history. Boy George, 80s pop icon and Dorrit's close friend, entered the chat.
Oh my gosh, this part.
He randomly commented on the Instagram clip of Teddi's podcast with 2 words, "Shut up."
The parasocial absurdity of Boy George acting as a digital bouncer for Dorrit Kemsley is high camp, but Teddi's counterattack is what shifted this from petty to profound.
Teddi deployed the ultimate sympathy shield. She clapped back, stating that Dorrit has no right to play the victim because Dorrit was the only former friend who completely failed to visit Teddi in the hospital during her grueling battle with stage 4 cancer and brain surgery.
And this is where the morality of reality TV gets so muddy. The social contract of friendship dictates that you show up for cancer.
100%.
You put the podcast beef aside, you cross the partisan Bravo lines, and you show up at the hospital. Dorrit failing to do that is a profound betrayal of basic human decency.
It is objectively awful. But let's analyze the rhetorical strategy Teddi is using. Teddi was facing severe backlash for invalidating a deeply traumatic event, which was Dorrit being held at gunpoint during a home invasion.
Right.
When called out for mocking trauma and appearance, Teddi pivots to her cancer battle.
She is weaponizing her own legitimate trauma to insulate herself from criticism over mocking someone else's legitimate trauma.
Exactly. It's a deflection mechanism. 2 realities exist simultaneously here. Dorrit's absence during Teddi's medical crisis is inexcusable, and Teddi using that illness as a PR get-out-of-jail-free card after mocking a violent robbery is highly toxic.
It is a mutually assured destruction of a friendship for podcast engagement. The currency of victimhood in reality TV is endlessly fascinating.
It really is.
And speaking of shifting power dynamics, we have to talk about Bozoma Saint John versus Andy Cohen.
This is a masterclass in corporate power clashing with reality TV hierarchy. Bozoma took to Instagram to publicly dress down the executive producer of the network, Andy Cohen.
Set the scene for the Snark squad, because this was intense.
During part 2 of the reunion, Andy questioned Bozoma's corporate resume. Bozoma has held the chief marketing officer title at massive tech titans, Netflix, Uber, Endeavor.
Heavy hitters.
Andy pointedly asked why she was only in those roles for brief stints, usually under 2 years, suggesting instability. And according to Bozoma, he delivered the question with a highly skeptical facial expression.
Which is where Andy's lack of corporate fluency really showed. Bozoma immediately educated him, explaining that short tenures for CMOs are an industry standard because they are inherently structurally vulnerable positions.
Yep.
When a company's stock dips, the CMO is the sacrificial lamb.
Bozoma took this education to Instagram, literally posting, "Andy Cohen, come here. I'm calling you to the front of the class."
The sheer alpha energy of telling your reality TV boss to come to the front of the class.
But the underlying analysis she provided is crucial. She is highlighting a well-documented sociological concept known as the glass cliff.
Yes. Let's explain the glass cliff.
The glass cliff phenomenon occurs when women, and specifically women of color, are finally elevated to C-suite leadership roles, but only during periods of extreme corporate crisis or downturn.
So they are handed the wheel of a sinking ship.
They are brought in to fix systemic failures, and when the impossible turnaround isn't achieved in 18 months, they are ousted and blamed. Bozoma demanded that Andy celebrate the fortitude required for a black woman to even secure those roles, rather than lazily questioning her exit timeline.
It is a brilliant, necessary critique of structural racism in corporate America. She used her Bravo platform to explain a macroeconomic reality to an audience that might not know what a glass cliff is.
She definitely schooled him.
Andy's question lacked nuance and reinforced negative stereotypes about black women's professional stability.
Analytically, Bozoma is entirely correct on the facts. However, strategically, applying C-suite power plays to the Bravo ecosystem is dangerous. Reality TV operates on a completely different hierarchy.
Meaning what?
Andy Cohen is not a corporate board member you can publicly reprimand on Instagram. He is the gatekeeper of the franchise.
You think she sacrificed her season 15 diamond for the sake of corporate vindication?
I think demanding respect as a corporate titan while simultaneously participating in a show where women scream at each other over Buca di Beppo redesigns is a fundamental misalignment of brand.
Oh, that makes sense.
You cannot command the reverence of a Fortune 500 boardroom while sitting on a reunion couch. The power dynamics simply do not translate.
That is a fascinating read. She won the intellectual argument, but may have lost the reality TV war. But speaking of losing the war, let's move into Section 4, Friendships in the Grave.
Teddy and Dora aren't the only ones burying their alliances. Margaret Josephs from the Real Housewives of New Jersey just elevated the concept of a friendship funeral to high art.
Marge executed a logistical masterpiece. Walk us through it.
Marge discovered that her castmate, Teresa Giudice, and Teresa's attorney, James J. Leonard, were holding a filmed meeting to allegedly plot a legal takedown of Marge.
So what does Marge do?
She orchestrated a preemptive strike. She contacted production, ascertained the exact filming schedule, and timed the delivery of a massive, actual funeral flower arrangement to arrive at Teresa's house precisely while cameras were rolling.
The level of produced pettiness is astounding. You are using the show's own call sheet as a weapon.
The card attached read, "Dear Teresa and James, sorry for the loss of your dignity. Love, 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 Marge."
It's a prop comedy fatality. But Marge didn't stop at flowers. She utilized geography as a rhetorical weapon on a podcast afterward.
Yes, she did. Marge attacked the credibility of Teresa's lawyer by contrasting their real estate. She stated, "His office is above a pizza parlor, around the corner from a meth clinic," comparing it to the pristine optics of her own Park Avenue attorney.
Calling your enemy's legal counsel a meth-adjacent pizza parlor lawyer is top-tier Housewives snark. It's a direct attack on class and status, which is the foundational currency of the Housewives franchise.
And she followed it up with a political deflection. During a live interview with Lucas Thim, Marge was asked about Teresa's political voting leanings.
A trap.
Marge smoothly bypassed the political trap and simply reminded the cheering audience, Teresa can't vote.
A surgical strike referencing Teresa's status as a convicted felon, completely neutralizing the question.
It is lethal precision. But the ultimate conclusion of this war is that Marge has officially exited the show. She stated she tested for season 15, but recognized it was heading down a dark path with some people's husbands, so she voluntarily walked away.
Which proves she actually possesses the boundaries that so many reality stars lack. When the toxicity outweighs the paycheck, you have to extract yourself.
Exactly.
But down in Atlanta, an extraction just happened that feels far more tragic.
Portia Williams and Shamea Morton. The end of a lifelong pre-fame friendship.
This one genuinely hurts the soul of a Bravo fan. Like they've been friends forever.
Portia appeared on Carlos King's podcast and confirmed the friendship is entirely deceased. According to Portia, during the filming of season 17, Shamea committed an act so low down, so disrespectful, so hurtful, and so unwarranted that Portia now refuses to even speak her name.
And Portia specifically shot down the narrative that she was trying to block Shamea from getting a peach, which is the symbol of a full-time cast member.
Right. Portia claims she advocated for Shamea behind the scenes. But let's analyze the power dynamics of the peach. For years, Shamea operated in the friend of role.
The sidekick role.
The sociology of that role is inherently subordinate. Your job as a friend of is to act as a loyal lieutenant to your main cast alpha.
You are the Greek chorus, the backup dancer.
Exactly. But the moment Shamea secures a peach, the power dynamic equalizes. She is no longer a subordinate, she's a competitor for screen time.
Which changes everything.
To secure her contract, Shamea has to generate her own central conflict. Historically, the fastest way for a newly promoted cast member to prove their worth is to turn on the alpha who brought them in.
The betrayal is baked into the promotion. It is the tragic paradox of reality TV. You advocate for your friend to get a full-time spot, and by doing so, you hand them the exact weapon they need to destroy you for a storyline.
The architecture of the show demands conflict, and long-term loyalty is bad for ratings. Which brings us to another friendship destroyed by the demands of the camera, Lala Kent and Katie Maloney.
This is a psychological deep dive into accountability and boundaries.
Lala Kent broke down on her podcast discussing the brutal end of her dynamic with Katie. Lala admitted she was the catalyst.
What did she do?
She took private, highly sensitive venting from Katie about Ariana Madix and explicitly leaked it on camera to drive the plot of Vanderpump Rules.
She sacrificed her friend's trust to appease the producers.
Yes. And Lala admitted she became obsessed with justifying it, looping continuously on her own defensive perspective. It escalated to the point where her 12-step sponsor had to intervene.
The injection of 12-step recovery mechanics into a reality TV drama is so compelling.
The sponsor utilized a core tenet of recovery, keeping your side of the street clean. The sponsor warned Lala that her obsession with defending her reality TV actions was pushing her toward a psychological break or a relapse.
So what did they tell her to do?
She was instructed to drop her defenses, own the pain she caused, and make an amends, regardless of whether she felt justified in the moment.
So Lala executes the amends. She sends Katie a massive, heartfelt apology text. And what is the result?
Katie leaves her on read. Complete silence.
Which is the ultimate exercise of a boundary.
It is a masterclass in emotional sovereignty. Let's look at the psychology here. Lala's apology, prompted by her sponsor, was fundamentally about relieving Lala's internal guilt and preventing her own spiral.
Right, it was for Lala, not Katie.
Katie recognizing that and refusing to participate in Lala's emotional laundering process is incredibly powerful. Katie's essentially saying, your guilt is your burden. I am not absolving you so you can sleep better.
It is a brutal but necessary lesson. You cannot detonate a relationship on national television and then expect a text message to repair the structural damage. As Lala admitted, in one moment, your action can change everything.
Some actions are irreversible. But while Katie and Lala are accepting finality, others are trapped in a perpetual cycle of bad decisions. Section 5. Spin the block or move on.
Enter the Toms, Tom Schwartz and Tom Sandoval.
Tom Schwartz spoke to the Daily Dish and stated that while he likely won't open another bar with Sandoval, considering their venture, Schwartz and Sandy's, just financially collapsed and permanently closed.
Thank goodness.
He hopes to collaborate with him again because they have good collaborative energy.
I need to interrupt this delusion immediately. Good collaborative energy. Their collaboration yielded an internationally boycotted business, the implosion of Schwartz's marriage, the alienation of their core demographic, and complete financial devastation. What metric of good energy are we using here?
It is a codependent trauma bond, but the lack of analytical reality extends to Sandoval as well. Sandoval appeared on Watch What Happens Live and attempted to spin the closure of Schwartz and Sandy's.
Did he acknowledge that his month-long, highly publicized affair with his partner's best friend caused a global consumer strike against his brand?
I'm going to bet heavily on no.
You win. He blamed the real estate. He claimed the location in Franklin Village was a tricky area and implied the business model was naturally flawed.
The absolute refusal to engage with cause and effect.
Franklin Village parking did not bankrupt that bar. The economics of a boycott bankrupted that bar. When you become the central villain in a pop culture phenomenon, consumers vote with their wallets. People are not going to cross a picket line of public opinion to buy a $22 cocktail from a man who refuses to show genuine remorse.
It is a PR spin that fundamentally insults the intelligence of the consumer base. But the Toms aren't the only ones insulting our intelligence with transparent setups. Let's look back at Jessie Draper from Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
The whiplash of her current narrative is astonishing.
Jessie recently conducted an interview painting her ex-husband, Jordan, as the ultimate villain of the franchise, alleging he engaged with escort services.
Right.
In that same breath, she played the remorseful penitent regarding her own emotional affair with Marciano Brunet from Vanderpump Villa. She explicitly stated it was a huge mistake, and she was terrified of the fallout.
She is laying down the narrative of the reformed woman who learned from her transgressions.
Until literally days later, when she and Marciano were photographed together at the Red Door Saloon in Nashville, engaging in heavy PDA, hugging and kissing on the cheek.
You cannot embark on an apology press tour lamenting your affair and then immediately execute a paparazzi stroll in Nashville with the affair partner. The hypocrisy is blinding.
But look at the mechanics of the reality TV ecosystem. Is it hypocrisy, or is it a calculated cross-pollination strategy?
Oh, you think this is a produced setup?
Absolutely. Secret Lives of Mormon Wives needs a storyline for Season 5, especially with Dakota legally sidelined. Vanderpump Villa thrives on messy crossover potential.
A manufactured crossover.
A strategic public sighting in Nashville tests the audience's engagement metrics. If the internet reacts, which we are doing right now, the producers have the justification to fly Marciano to Utah and integrate him into the cast.
It is cynical, brilliant producing. They are manufacturing the mess in real time to secure their contracts. Which brings us to our final act, Section 6, Next Generations and Golden Eras. We are looking at the future legacy of these franchises.
And we begin with the literal next generation. The Bravo children are growing up, and their milestones are being utilized as PR content. Kyle Richards just announced that her youngest daughter, Portia Umansky, has committed to the University of Colorado at Boulder.
Which is wild because it feels like Portia was just a toddler on season 1 of Beverly Hills. Time is flying.
Kyle revealed Portia toured TCU, SMU, and Miami, but chose Boulder. And Kyle's reasoning, shared on an Amazon live stream, was that Boulder is only a 2-hour flight from Los Angeles and Aspen, making family visits convenient.
The casual drop that a university is geographically compatible with the family's Aspen ski chalet commute is peak Beverly Hills wealth signaling.
Truly.
But honestly, studying communications in Boulder is a smart move. Portia is going to need a master's degree in crisis PR to handle the Umansky-Richards family dynamics moving forward.
It is a benign, positive PR update. But another reality star's parenting update highlights the severe ethical dilemma of sharing parenting struggles on the internet.
Oh, Ashley Akinetti from the Real Housewives of Rhode Island.
Ashley posted an emotional update regarding her sons. She had previously generated massive engagement by confessing to gender disappointment over not having a daughter.
Which is a whole thing to unpack.
In this new update, she shared a tender moment where her son held her face and called her beautiful, which helped her appreciate being a boy mom.
A beautiful, intimate moment.
It is. But she followed it up by stating she asked her husband, Jared, if he was sad about not having a girl. Jared allegedly admitted he wanted a daughter, but outright refuses to have a third child.
This is where we need to have a serious conversation about the digital footprint. Monetizing the concept of gender disappointment is a highly dangerous game. The internet is permanent.
Exactly. The Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, or COPATA, protects data, but it doesn't protect children from their parents' oversharing.
These kids will see this.
These boys are going to be 15 years old one day. They are going to possess digital literacy. They will Google their parents, and the search engine will serve up articles detailing how their mother was publicly disappointed by their gender and their father refused to try again.
You are creating a psychological complex for your child before they even reach middle school, all for the sake of an Instagram algorithm. Not every internal monologue needs to be content.
Preach.
The pursuit of relatability is blinding these influencers to the long-term emotional damage they're inflicting on their own kids.
It is the ultimate consequence of living a fully monetized life. But while some are oversharing online, others are making highly theatrical exits on stage.
Whitney Leavitt closing the curtain.
Whitney, a core cast member of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, just concluded her run starring as Roxy Hart in Chicago on Broadway.
The trajectory from Utah TikTok dancer to Broadway lead is still a staggering sociological anomaly.
During her final performance in front of a live theater audience, Whitney pulled a prop newspaper out on stage and read a customized headline aloud. Whitney Leavitt announces she's leaving the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. The audience erupted in cheers.
Theatricality at its absolute finest. Utilizing a Broadway prop to formally resign from a reality television show is a level of camp and meta-commentary that belongs in a museum.
It is brilliant performance art, but structurally, it creates a massive continuity error for the production team.
How so?
Because Season 5 had already commenced filming. The production crew literally flew the cast to New York in February to film Whitney's Broadway debut, so she is embedded in the narrative architecture of the early season.
Oh, wow, that is messy.
Her sudden unilateral exit via a stage prop means the editors now have to reverse engineer the departure storyline.
Oh, she's going to make them work for it. She will likely shoot one final, highly dramatic sit-down scene, declare she has outgrown the Momtok toxicity, and exit stage left. It is a power move.
She is leaving the mess behind. But as we wrap up, we look at a group of women who are actively running toward the mess.
The golden era is upon us.
The IN Network has officially dropped the trailer for The Golden Life.
The ultimate legacy ecosystem. I have been waiting for this.
It is a masterstroke of nostalgia casting. They have taken the titans of early Bravo, Luann de Lesseps, Sonja Morgan, Ramona Singer, Dorinda Medley, and Kelly Benjamin, and relocated them to Palm Beach, Florida.
Putting Ramona Singer and Dorinda Medley in the Florida heat with unlimited access to country club alcohol and zero real-world responsibilities is the equivalent of throwing a lit match into a fireworks factory.
And to add cross-franchise volatility, Marge from New Jersey was spotted filming with them.
A crossover event. The woman who sends funeral flowers mingling with the Countess.
The trailer edits are a study in immediate contradiction. It opens with the women pledging peace. Dorinda claims they are keeping quiet. Kelly insists Zen comes easily.
Delusion right out of the gate.
Immediate delusion. The very next sequence is Luan screaming at Sanja, "He wanted to marry me, not you." To which Sanja deadpans, "He asked me to marry him too."
They are in their 60s and still fighting over the exact same demographic of wealthy, aging Palm Beach socialites. The mechanics of their conflict have not evolved in 15 years, and it is weirdly comforting.
Then the trailer escalates to physical comedy. Ramona Singer is shown actively shoving Luan away from a microphone stand because Ramona wants to command the room to sing the national anthem.
The visual poetry of Ramona Singer aggressively body-checking a countess to butcher the Star-Spangled Banner is why this medium was invented.
It concludes with Sanja letting out a visceral burp and Luan looking at her with absolute aristocratic disgust, stating, "I can smell your barf."
It is Shakespearean.
And Luan leaves us with the thesis statement of the show. The yacht era has not ended.
The golden life is the palate cleanser we need. After dissecting protective orders, medical debt, and 12-step betrayals, we need the low-stakes, high-delusion chaos of Palm Beach. I'm setting the DVR.
It is the perfect ecosystem of wealth and absurdity. And that brings us to the end of today's analysis. We have mapped the architecture of the mess, from Bel Air tort law to Broadway exits.
We covered a lot of ground today.
But before we close, I want to leave the listener with one final analytical thought to mull over.
Drop the final thesis.
Think about the power structures we dissect here. Teresa Giudice, due to federal fraud convictions, literally cannot legally cast a ballot in a federal election. Yet, through the sheer force of reality TV longevity and parasocial influence, she holds more sway over the cultural politics and real estate narratives of New Jersey than the actual democratically elected governor of the state.
That is wild to think about.
The power of the camera transcends the power of the ballot box. What a world.
It is objectively terrifying, but analytically undeniable. She's running a shadow government from a mansion with a faux marble facade. You have to respect the absolute absurdity of the hustle.
You really do.
Well, babes, that is the deep dive for today. Survive the week. Hydrate, enforce your boundaries. Do not utilize a windowless stairwell for cardio unless you're actively fleeing danger. And if you can't be good, be careful.
And remember to subscribe, rate the show 5 stars, and share this deep dive with your messiest friend, the one who communicates entirely in 7 in the morning GIFs. They need this structural analysis in their life.
They really do. Stay caffeinated, stay thriving, and we will see you on the Snark side.
Stay caffeinated, stay thriving,
Yeah.
and we will see you on the Snark side.